Sometimes, the life you think you know is just a mirage, a beautiful lie that shatters the moment you look too closely. I learned this the hard way. My name is Alex, and just a few months ago, I was on top of the world. I had a thriving career that took me on business trips, a beautiful home, and a loving wife, Sarah. We were college sweethearts, the couple everyone envied. Or so I thought. Our story began like a fairy tale. We met, we fell in love, and we built a life together. For 10 years, she was my rock, my confidant, my everything. We shared dreams of starting a family, of growing old together. I believed in our love, in our future. I never once questioned her loyalty. Why would I? Every phone call when I was away was filled with "I miss yous" and "I love yous." Every homecoming was a celebration. My latest trip was supposed to be the last big one for a while. A 3-week project in another state that would set me up for a promotion. I worked tirelessly, fueled by the thought of coming home to Sarah and finally starting that next chapter of our lives. We talked every day, her voice a soothing balm to my exhausting schedule. She'd tell me about her day, how much she missed me, and how she was counting down the seconds until I was back in her arms. Driven by a longing to see her, I wrapped up my project 3 days early. I was ecstatic. I decided to surprise her, imagining the look of joy on her face when I walked through the door. I didn't call, didn't text. I just booked the first flight home, my heart pounding with anticipation all the way. The taxi ride from the airport felt like an eternity. I pictured our reunion, the warm embrace, the long overdue kiss. I quietly turned the key in the lock, a wide grin spreading across my face. I wanted to sneak up on her, maybe find her curled up on the couch watching a movie. The house was dimly lit and unusually quiet. I set my bags down gently, my footsteps muffled by the carpet. "Honey, I'm home," I whispered, stepping into the living room. It was empty. A strange feeling, a tiny knot of unease, began to form in my stomach. I called her name again, a little louder this time. "Sarah?" Still no answer. Maybe she was asleep. I started up the stairs, my earlier excitement now replaced by a creeping sense of confusion. As I got closer to our bedroom, I heard it. A low murmur of voices. My heart skipped a beat. It wasn't the TV. It was a man's voice, deep and unfamiliar, followed by Sarah's soft laughter. My blood ran cold. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it. Maybe it was her brother? A cousin? But her family lived hours away. I stood frozen outside our bedroom door, my hand hovering over the doorknob. My whole body was trembling. The laughter from inside the room, the same laughter that once brought me so much joy, now felt like a dagger twisting in my gut. Taking a deep, shuddering breath, I pushed the door open. The scene that unfolded before me will be burned into my memory forever. There was Sarah, my Sarah, with another man. In our bed. In our home. The world around me dissolved. The air was sucked from my lungs. It was a nightmare, a waking, breathing nightmare that I couldn't escape. They both froze, their eyes wide with shock. Sarah scrambled for the sheets, her face a mask of panic and guilt. The man, a stranger in my sacred space, just stared at me. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. All I could do was stand there, the pieces of my life, my marriage, my future, shattering into a million irreparable fragments on the floor around me. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of my own heart breaking. The man quickly gathered his clothes and left without a word, refusing to even look at me. Then it was just me and Sarah. The woman I had loved for a decade was now a stranger. She started crying, pleading, the words, "It's not what it looks like," tumbling from her lips. But it was exactly what it looked like. The evidence was undeniable. The trust, the very foundation of our relationship, had been demolished. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I was hollow. I calmly walked back downstairs, picked up my bags, and walked out the door without looking back. I drove aimlessly for hours, the city lights blurring through my tears. The betrayal was a physical pain, a crushing weight on my chest. How long had this been going on? Were all those loving phone calls a lie? Was our entire marriage a performance? In the days that followed, I stayed with a friend, ignoring her endless calls and texts filled with apologies and excuses. I couldn't face her. I couldn't face the wreckage of our life. With the help of my friend and a good lawyer, I started the painful process of divorce. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, untangling a life I thought was forever. It's been 6 months now. The pain is still there, a dull ache that reminds me of what I lost. But with each passing day, I'm finding my strength again. I'm rebuilding my life, piece by piece, on a new foundation of self-respect and honesty. I'm focusing on my career, reconnecting with friends, and rediscovering who I am without her. The scar of her betrayal will always be a part of my story, but it will not define my future. This nightmare has ended, and a new day is dawning. It's a long road, but I know I'll be okay. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you've been through something similar, know that you are not alone, and healing is possible. Please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content. Your support means the world to me. See you next time.